Welcome you all to the Empire Club, those who are here physically and those who are here electronically. I want to welcome you to our 109th celebratory year, and tonight is our lecture night. So without much ado, I'll start. Tonight I wish to say I feel very proud of the accomplishments our club has made over the last decade. We're here together as we celebrate the 109th anniversary of Empire Club. Our thoughts stimulate our minds, and what we think determines what we desire. Our desires are the seedbed of our actions. We are shaping our destiny by the ideas we choose to be united with. Especially today, where there is a need for value and direction. I am sure everybody agrees with me when I say that the most important resource of our club is its people. Despite the challenges our club has gone through, and as we continue to strive to achieve the goals of our founding fathers, I wish to vow every one of us to be responsible for that reality. Tonight my task is pretty straightforward. It is to introduce our speaker. I'm sorry, he is the son of the soil, that we represent this club, and is a member of this club, a loyal member of this club. Like many boys who dream of becoming an international star, Stephen Leslie was heavily involved in a number of sporting disciplines during his formative years, and was talented enough to represent the Empire Club in the limited over cricket match while being a 40-year-old boy. Stephen attended St. Michael and Law School before entering UWI Fayetteville campus in '97 to pursue his tertiary education. Spent close to 2 decades as sports administrator at UWI and was given a key role in their expansion of the cricket program at the campus in 2006. Leslie acquired both an undergraduate and a master's degree at UWI prior to joining Barbados Cricket Association in in 2015 as the first ever director of parade in Barbados. During his 5 years, Stephen will contend that as distinctive director of parade, Barbados enjoyed an unprecedented level of success at the junior and regional level, and this was as a result of the administrative skills acquired prior to joining the BCA. In recent years, he's expanded his professional role at the BCA, and since November 2020, serves as the head of the Marketing and Communications Department. With just over 30 plus years of being involved with clubs and schools, cricket on the island, clubs and school cricket on the island, he has witnessed the various changes that many have experienced during that period. Let's welcome Stephen Leslie to deliver.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and it's indeed a warm coming when the opportunity was given and the invitation extended to be part of the 109th anniversary activities for the Empire Club. When I received that call, it was not just debating, but I actually took some time to reflect on how we want to communicate to everyone who's here tonight. Now, when I look into the audience tonight, there are a number of very interesting observations. We can acknowledge, obviously, the president and the executive of the Empire Club. And I want everyone to be aware that when you get to 109 years, it is going to be a lot of ebbs and flows during that period. So, originating from when this club was founded back in 1914 to now in a modern day Barbados, when I communicate tonight, I would want everyone to, under the theme really, the challenges that we have in the club system, to understand that there's a very different dynamic that we actually exist in 2023. I would say a little bit earlier, and I was able to witness part of the match that was put on, the T20 cricket match. And interestingly enough, I said to one of the members here, I would like to see how many of those participants remain for the very short lecture. And when I took a look, I can see one person who was actually actively playing, and I also see the coach. And most of the other persons who are here would have come to be part of this conversation tonight. So I want to say to Melvin, Ivor, Oxley, and to his executive that this is the new reality that we face in the club system in Barbados. This club obviously has a rich history which allowed it to go through different changes, and it's a multi-discipline club, which is important. It's just not the sport of cricket. You've got the hockey and football. We actually have played here with immeasurable success over the years. So what does that mean? Coming through the years where you've had a number of national representatives in 3 disciplines, this club probably is known because of the high caliber of cricket players, 4 nights among 16 test cricketers. This is what this club really go through the realities that we face now in 2023. The first thing you must ask yourself is, why does a person join a club? Simple definition of is that it's a group of persons formed to play sports and to pass leisure time. I want to repeat that. What really is a sports club? It's a group of persons formed to play sports and to pass leisure time activity. So however which way we want to dissect it, individuals join clubs or become part of clubs in order to be part of that activity. Now, in 2023, one must realize that there's so many different options that exist. The technology that we have now allows persons now in an instant to get information where years ago we would have had to wait many weeks to collect. So the attention spans of the younger persons in 2020 is quite short as compared to many of the persons who are in the audience. We wish we wish to recognize that despite the fact that everything is accessible, it means that many of the young men and women in clubs now have a shorter level of patience. If they don't get their information immediately or almost instantaneously, it means to them that they are going to be bored or they are going to be disinterested. So tonight I'll start by allowing persons to understand the link between secondary schools in Barbados and the clubs as we know it. Many, many years ago, there was a deliberateness from our colonial masters in the UK to come into the Caribbean and to ensure that within the secondary school system that they had planted and implemented the doctrine of cricket. What was the doctrine of cricket? The doctrine of cricket meant that you taught people how to build character, you taught people discipline, you taught people how to be able to build an identity. So when you had those young men and women at the secondary school systems, and they were identified the three schools that were first identified. It was the Harrison College, Combermere, and the Lodge School. These three schools from the 1860s, you had principals who came to the Caribbean, came to Barbados in particular, and they wanted to indoctrinate the sport of cricket. For those same reasons I just mentioned. So there was a gentleman by the name of Horace Dighton. Horace Dighton was a very famous principal at the Harrison College. And he was there for about 33 years. And those 33 years, what Horace Dighton did, he brought a lot of the philosophy from the United Kingdom. Eton and Harrow, some popular public schools in the UK. And he engaged every boy and girl at the Harrison College to be involved in physical sporting activity. So think about it for a moment. You have the schools, you have the three leading schools in Barbados during the 1860s coming forward, and Horace Dighton and many others ensured that their boys and girls got involved in sport. So what happened is that they got involved in sport, and then that filtered from the school system into what we know today as a club system. So what was the significance of that? Cricket was just one of the three C's. In this room, I believe there may be one or two people that will be familiar, but the three C's was the classics, Christianity, and cricket. And that's how it worked. In the classics, we had a situation where persons are involved in music, in dance, and we had that element that while doing music and dance, that again, you're being taught discipline, you're being taught how to express yourself, and that was part of the classics. Christianity, similarly, by utilizing religion of Christianity, you were taught to be disciplined. You were taught to follow rules. You were taught to, when you were given a certain task to carry out, you carry it out diligently and obediently. And then cricket, the one that we're all familiar with, was utilized in that form to be able to ensure that that was indoctrinated within the Caribbean and here in Barbados. So you might ask yourself, what did the schools do to contribute to club life? This club that we are here at tonight in Park Club, when formed by Herman Griffith back in 1914, we know the history of what caused our club to be formed. There were some challenges. The working class, black, talented cricketer could not get the opportunity to play at the other three established clubs at that point in time. The Wanderers Club, established in 1877, the Paywick Club, established in 1884, and then the Spartan Club in 1893. Our club was number 4. And Herman Griffith and those other working class talented black cricketers recognized they were not fitting into getting the opportunity to express themselves on the cricket field. So what the schools did, and I know in this room that there are many who may not be aware, after the Empire Club was established in 1914, do you know that it took 2 years after Empire Club was formed in 1914 to be given the opportunity to play in representative domestic cricket? And Joan was that vote. Harrison College was one of the schools that voted for Empire to play. The Spartan Club opposed it. Wanderers supported the Empire Club. Pickwick opposed it. So the vote was 2-2. So many of the talented cricketers in 1916 got the opportunity, by virtue of that vote, to express themselves on the domestic cricket scene in Barbados. Why is that significant? That's very significant because among those 4 knights, we've got Sir Conrad Hunt, we've got Sir Everton Weekes, Sir Frank Worrell, Sir Charles Griffith. But one of those 4 knights, in a bit of literature called Master the Craft, Sir Everton Weekes expressed that while playing cricket on the field, while being one of the most talented cricketers on the field, he at some times had to stay on the field while his other similar colleagues of a slightly different pigmentation had the opportunity to go and vote. He, as a black working class person at that point, despite his talent, was not in a position to vote. So I said that to get to the very important point, that when the stalwarts of this club expressed themselves on the field of play, it wasn't just bat and ball. It wasn't just an expression of their talent. They believed fundamentally that a lot of the challenges that they faced in the Barbados of that time, that by virtue of expressing themselves in the form of cricket, that they would be able to show that they were not only just equals, but they could become world class. So I would like everyone who's here to understand the importance of the Empire Club. Empire is a unique club because despite all of the challenges between 1914 and today in the sports of hockey, football, and cricket, they have had a basket of committed individuals who have ensured that they have done their best to ensure that the legacy of the club, which we celebrate, can continue. Now, club life in Barbados has changed. And one of the critical things to recognize is at the level of West Indies League cricket, Test status was granted in 1928. But there's a uniqueness 40 years before that that we need to be aware of. In 1886, the West Indies team had to go through a trial. You know what a trial is? Despite all the talent you have in your school system, despite all the talent you have in your club system, for you to get Test status, you need to prove your worth. And what that meant, in 1886, the first ever West Indian cricket tour was taken to where? Canada and the United States. And sometimes you wonder, Canada and the United States? Yes, because those 2 countries had very well put together organized cricket systems well before the West Indies team was granted the opportunity to tour in 1886. A Jamaican by the name of L.W. Fife was the captain of that team. And in typical Barbadian parlance, we had 3 Barbadians who were part of that initial squad in 1886. We played 7 matches in Canada, we won 1, lost 6. In the United States, in places in Chicago and Detroit, we played 9 matches, we won 3, and we lost 5, and 1 was drawn. That was part of the trial and the process. You've got a club system, you've got a school system, but prove to us you're worthy of international status. How does that link to what we're doing here today in 2023? As I said earlier, Empire Club is a unique club. And one can argue that the amount of superstars that we have some of us take that for granted. And one of the things that is very critical about understanding a legacy of that nature is what do we do in modern day Barbados in order to maintain that. So I sometimes, in my experiences, try to figure out how does a club without all of the financial resources, I might have been a bit spoiled. I had an opportunity to work close to 2 decades at an institution that had a revenue funding model. That was at the UWA. So when you work with the young talented sportsmen in that environment, you allocate these funds to get these talented persons to express themselves. In the club level, that's not the reality. It's the other way around. Where do we find sufficient finance and revenue in order to get our club or keep our club above board? I believe there should be consideration for a research and a very heavy promotion of what this club has been able to achieve in 109 years. It is critical to understand that sometimes in this part of the world we don't document goals against this other club. I remember that football game when we went to penalty kicks and we were able to win the championship. But when you come to documenting your success and your excellence, it is something now for elder generations to be able to look at, to try to figure out what was the model, what was the strategy that caused individuals to achieve this success. When I came into the club this afternoon, I was deliberate in looking at the face all of the cricketers who played at test level. But then I asked myself, if I were to go to a member of our executive here in Perth, or one of the long-standing the 1986 hockey team won or football team won at the club. Apart from Sam Reed, who played hockey for this club, Ivor, who played football, many others here who played cricket. Apart from that story, what can we actually access? So I want to suggest to the executive of this club that they go on a very systematic research program to be able to highlight and document the essence of this club. It is very well displayed, the photos, but in terms of being able to access it so that any person, even outside the space of Barbados, can access it and understand the significance and the essence of this club. Now, I want to give you an idea of the 3 different categories of members that make up a club. Because remember, the theme is unity is strength, the challenges that we face within the club system. Now, in a typical club, there are 3 types of members. Very simply, they're the play members, persons who come into the club who want to actively be involved in hockey, football, and cricket. Then there's arm, any policy making arm. Sometimes it could be friends and family or persons who are involved in play. Why is it important to understand those three different types of members? The realities are, for you to have a sustainable club, you must have a viable finance revenue generating model. It cannot rely solely on the subscriptions that might be paid on an annual basis. It cannot rely solely on having some social activity, dominoes, darts, karaoke. Those strategies, I would suggest to you, are not going to allow a club to be able to be sustainable in 2023 and beyond. Those things are useful, and it's critical that you have a buy-in, because the average member wants to know that there is a benefit for being part of the club. Why do you come to Empire Club? I grew up a stone throw away. My mom and dad in Hinesbury Road. I came here as a 9-year-old. I would play in every activity. But what would bring me to Empire Club Monday to Friday, to watch sports on the weekend, and to want to be part of this family to carry forward? There has to be an attraction to the Empire Club, beyond having a chat, beyond social events. So I want to suggest to the membership here that you look at developing a financially viable model. Now, I'm going to identify something that could be controversial, but it needs to be said. And what really drove some of our stalwarts to be as expressive and as dominant as they were while representing Empire Club or clubs in Jamaica and Barbados? Barbados black talented players to represent Spartan. So what did that mean? Spartan were engaging what we considered then as middle class. You had to attend, or you had to be from certain lineage and background. And if you did not qualify by virtue of that, unfortunately you were not going to be able to play. So what do we do? That doesn't exist in Barbados. And the Wanderers Club, for example, formed in 1877, predominantly a white club, predominantly of a certain social class, similarly Pickwick in 1884. You go to those three clubs today, and even to our Empire Club, almost any person who's talented can represent those clubs. The whole social reality is not present in modern day Barbados. I recall, for example, when Sir Everton and Sir Conrad were both alive, I had an opportunity and privilege to be part of a group that traveled to South Africa in 1995. That group was a combination of Africa in August of that year for a 3-week tour. And interesting enough, when Sir Conrad engaged us in South Africa, one of the things that he kept reminding us while he was doing that very significant work in South Africa is, please remember your identity. I remember Sir Conrad with a very broad smile always saying, remember your identity. On that tour, we learned more about our social understanding as being Black Caribbean boys than we would have learned in any school in Barbados. The legend in Sir Gary was there, Donna Simmons was there, and a whole host of Barbadian diplomats. And they kept reinforcing to these young black boys of the importance of understanding your identity. So I will say that might be controversial. I believe in 2023 that there are a number of talented players across the spectrum of disciplines that join clubs just for the opportunity to express their sporting talent. Full stop. Want me to repeat that? I believe in 2023, many persons join clubs so that they can just express their sporting talent. And then there's a full stop. They're not interested, in my view, in the sustenance of the growth of the club, the ability of the club to go to a point where it gets with the times, whether it's technology or otherwise. And there's sometimes, for example, that you may put together an activity, as an example, an event. Half an hour. The technology is there now. They go to their devices and then they do what? They leave the club. Who generally stays back to impart that knowledge, to have that discourse? When you look at it, pound for pound across the landscape of Barbados, it is the middle-aged and the older folk who do that, not the parents. And that's why we deliberately observed today, and I identified it, that one person, 11 players on two sides, 22. 2 umpires. One of the 2 umpires is here. So what does that mean? 2 participants out of what? 24 persons? That in itself is the challenge you, Mr. President, and your executive have to face. And it is cross the board in Barbados. So what do? I will highlight 3 factors that would have caused challenges being faced among clubs. Within the secondary school system. Let me just repeat that. In Barbados and wider Caribbean, there has been a change in focus by those persons who are educators in the secondary school system. You remember earlier I identified how there was a deliberateness back in the 1860s to have principals and school teachers indoctrinating school educators are interested in getting the school curriculum complete from an educational standpoint. Or, by the way, there's a physical education department. They do track and field there. They play cricket. They play football. But where is the focus? I had a chat with the Minister of Sport this conversation tonight, just to make sure that I got the numbers right. Quite recently, government was able to commit, based on the information I received, $20,000 for each national sporting federation in Barbados to build up their sport. Now the BCA is a different cricket, BCA is a different animal, but let's take for example $20,000 for the Hockey Federation. And I will guess the number of clubs that they may have in hockey. We need to look at and be thankful for the $20,000. But what can those clubs actually do in the hockey fraternity to really enhance their sport with that donation? Think about it for football as well. Yes, people will say there's FIFA, there's funding, but the government committed $20,000. So where do we really get it back? And I go to the point that the educators in Barbados, they should be within the secondary and primary school system in this country, and even as far as the Caribbean Examination Councils, an opportunity for persons to understand and have within the curriculum exposure, certificate, a subject dealing with the importance of cricket and sports to the development of the social fabric within the Caribbean. Somebody may say, does that make a difference? It does make a difference. Because the same way how we've had to learn to do R2 timetable, how to add and subtract, if you've got within the system a development path that persons understand what Sir Gary stood for, what Sir Conrad Hunt stand for, what the 3W stood for, as it meant for sport and cricket, maybe specific, that in my view will add to the importance of trying to be part of the participation to be able to be the next Sir Everton, to be the next Sir Conrad, to be the next Sir Gary. So I believe within the education system that we need to have a systematic, approved way of being able to teach our children that sport and discipline is very critical. One of the other factors that may have caused challenges is that persons are exploring other available options for leisure. Let's face it, those who chose to be here tonight could very well go by a bar, could very well go in Oystings and have a drink. And that's a challenge. Where did you think the other 22 that were participating have gone? Let's assume that most of them go home safely. But there's a reality that many of them have chosen another place to have their leisure. So that's the reality. That is a huge factor. How do you have everything more attractive that they want to be part of the club? They want to hear the lecture. They want to hear this young man speak for a few minutes and then afterwards have a drink. That is the type of thing that we have to be able to work through. And the third factor that I want to identify, and let's keep it very simple, how do expenditure? How do you balance the revenue against the expenditure? All of us live in households. If you spend more than you got in your pocket, what happens? You're under pressure. And the same thing happens to the club. You come to this bar, for example, and every time you want something to wet your palate with, and you get it for free, or you trust it, as the old people will say, what's going to happen? I observed something today that was so comical. I saw my friend Peter Howard known as Steve Wall, and I deliberately did it. He didn't even notice. Every bit, every drink that he issued was written in the piece of paper. No, it was at Empire Club 30 years ago. That wasn't in the system, you know. Obviously, it was much younger, but the point is, he, within the system now, is documenting the revenue. I sold, this is what I expect, he's documenting it. Now, when everything is finished, there are other things that Empire Club can do. How does Empire have that revenue side higher, managing expenditure, and be able to make what? A profit. How do you do that? Those are the questions that the administrators have got to deal with and find solutions for. So I'm going to make 3 suggestions as I come to a close on how we can address some of the challenges within the club system. I strongly believe that you must highlight at this club is what? Strength through adversity. That's very strong, very firm. Herman Griffith and everybody wanted us to grow strength through adversity. Persons who are charged with the responsibility of managing the affairs of the club in 2023 must be able to show the short-term and immediate-term vision for the club. If you are in an environment where you are executing, paying water bill, paying light bill, and doing all those necessary things, and you cannot let your membership know, this is the intention I have for the club by the end of 2023, 6 months. This is what I want to achieve for the club between 2024 and 2025, medium term. This is where we want the Empire Club to be by 2028, 5 years from now, a little bit more long term. I believe that that is critical. And I would impress upon those who are here, who have been lovers of this club, who are lovers of clubs all around Barbados, to consider that element, to reinforce and to highlight and to showcase what your vision is for the club. attractive options. Attractive options that include tangible benefits. Nobody in this room is going to go and be engaged in an activity on a consistent basis and not be able to derive some form of benefit. Everybody stay silent. I hope I haven't said it and I know everybody here. Most of us who are here are not going to be involved in something on a consistent basis where we cannot derive a basic tangible benefit. So clubs have to understand that that's the reality that we face. Because years gone by, it might have been staying shed, like many of us did, to get advice from the older guys. How do they manage their affairs at home? How do they manage a whole set of things? And I use that in inverted commas in that type of discourse. So you need to find creative ways to let persons know, for example, that when they pay their club fee for the annual year, that here are the benefits that are derived from being part of this club called Empire Club. And thirdly, and this is one that I believe my colleague, Ms. Julie Grant, and many others here, Antoinette, that I've met recently in this capacity, and others, you need to focus on attracting women and engaging them in the upkeep and the maintenance and the policy making of the club. Let me say that slowly. Focus on attracting women and have them engaged in the upkeep, in the maintenance and the policy making of the club. Some of us with testosterone believe it's a male-dominated all-boys club. We have to engage the women who are committed to getting the club and the upkeep of the club. I'll share something with you that I experienced on that short trip in South Africa. I remember in every venue that we went into Soweto, which was in the townships. We went into Johannesburg, which was more middle class. And at every activity, every cricket game, you know what we saw? At the end of the match, we saw women and girls who were, most of them, supportive of their family members who were playing, but what were they doing? They were making tea. They were making sandwiches. They were doing something in South Africa that they call a braai. Braai is basically a barbecue. They were cooking food. That in every place we went, the Soweto, which was one of the challenging places, to the Johannesburg, every place we went, that was part and parcel of what the women did. And I would suggest to us here, and those who are part of any club in Barbados, to ensure that they engage the women, engage the females in terms of the upkeep and the maintenance of their club. Antoinette smirks, because she knows that that is probably some of the realities that females face. So, when Herman Griffith made the choice to form this club, they could not have seen 50 years down the road. Because when you're going through the actual process, you don't see 50 years. But he made a determined choice, along with others, to form Empire Club. Those who are here now in 2023, I want to impress upon each of you to give it not just your 100%, but to work smart. Don't just come to the club Monday to Friday, sacrifice time away from family and friends. Think about strategic ways that your time can get Empire Club from where it is today to your thinking. Don't just think about the bar, don't just think about the light bill and the water bill. And those are part of the, but think about ways that we are going to be able to have more young, talented individuals being part of this journey, being part of the excellence, being part of the home of champions, don't just say that. Let us together find strategic ways and solutions to be part of that journey. And again, I want to thank those who decided to stay here, to be able to listen to the short contribution that they made. And I want, if anything, that if you take away anything from what I've said, remember that we are now part of the journey in 2023. We've been given that opportunity. How can we as individuals provide that support to help the president, his executive, the membership of this club, and clubs in Barbados to be able to take it from one level to the next? Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask you all to stand and give our invited guests. As we close, I'd like to first of all again express our sincere to Stephen for what was a wonderful speech. I'd also invite him. He's volunteered himself on one of the subcommittees. He must have been in our committee of management meetings, because that is specifically where the club is heading. So I want to once again say your speech was very, very positive. I'd like to acknowledge at this time the presence of our president, Melvin Iwo-Oxley, for giving us the opportunity to conduct this week of activities, and our two specially invited guests, Patricia Hunt, Mrs. Sakara Hunt, and an honorary member of the club, and Ian Bradshaw on behalf of Wonders. You have heard Stephen in his speech made reference to how Empire Club was entered into local domestic cricket. Many people do not understand the strength of the relationship between Empire Club and Wonders Club. I want to thank you specifically, Ian and Patricia, for coming and giving us an opportunity. Also want to thank the committee of the organizing committee led by Julie Grant. Quite well done. And I want to encourage you all to help us celebrate the rest of the week. Julie is a perennial member of Empire Club. I want you all to come out and support us and help us during the rest of the week. I want to also thank the rest of the organizing committee. I want to thank Jerry Kelman and Trevor Thorne, Julian Adel, and Roger Mears for their support of our audio as well as video. We now have things. Anthony Farrell, who was here umpiring the game today. I want to thank you, Indian. I want to thank everybody who has in there. If I left out anybody, it wasn't on purpose. And I want to encourage you all to patronize the bar. Mr. Leslie made a reference to revenue. We need some help. So those at home who watching, come down. I want to thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your night. That's it, guys.
You know you're done. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, no.
1 more year? Okay.
Yes. Anyway, let this go. Laughing at that. I know it's bad one here. Then give me quick read what I read. And then you can read what That'll be yes,
Yes.
Two Canadian teams, one club of Paradise Masters, Paradise Masters, defending champions. And fun game of Saturday night. Sunday night. Monday night, semi-finals in the morning. 12 minutes.